Hello everybody, my name is Ken Rock, and today, as you can tell by the picture in front of you, we'll be discussing Fudge's video on a billion lines versus all the Pokemon that exist. Now, obviously, I have my opinion on which one will win, but first, I'd like to talk about what Fudge had. So, he has the lines winning, and for weird reasons, I'll get into those a little bit when I show some of his clips and debunk some of his ideas, but personally, I want you to know I have the Pokemon winning. I don't even think you need all the Pokemon for this fight. In reality, one Pokemon alone could easily take on the fight, and I'm not talking any particular. Any Earth type would do it, any Water type could do it, any Flying type could do it, any Ice type could do it. Particularly by that, almost any normal type could win this fight as well. Fire types probably got the win as well, weirdly enough. And let me explain why. So, with your Earth type, you got some very powerful moves. Earthquake itself is something that definitely can't be squandered, but there's also something to be said about the move Future, which is basically Earthquake, but even more powerful. There's also Magnitude, which is something to be careful about, and Rock Slide. Now, before I go any further, I should point out, yes, in the video games, Pokemon have something known as PP. But for the sake of this argument, I'm taking that off the table. For the sake of, that's only for game balancing reasons. Just like the whole turn aspect. I'm not going to be giving Pokemon turn. They're just going to be allowed to fight. There's no reason why in a off-game, realistic setting that they would have the ability to. If we were giving the Pokemon that limitations, then we'd have to give Lions that as well. And for the sake of having a billion turns, no thank you. Now to the water Pokemon, we have moves such as Waterfall. Not Waterfall. You know, Waterfall itself is dangerous, a move as it owns, but we also have Surf. Do you know what a Tsunami is? Because that's basically what Surf is. There's also Muddy Water, which is that, but with a lot of dirt into it. If Surf itself is a giant tsunami that would crush and destroy towns, then Muddy Water is basically a wet slime that would be more dangerous considering it's more solid. You'd think that'd be the only move, but Hydro Pump itself is also something that the Lions are going to have to deal with. Characters such as Blastoids and Mega Blastoids and their ability to constantly shoot it off is something to be very wary of. The snow Pokemon, you have stuff like Hail itself, which is going to be a big problem, and Frosty Winds. Now, again, for game simplicity, we see that usually only affects one Pokemon. However, in a realistic setting where there is no limits to what you can and can't attack and how the attacks work, Icy Winds would be a area type move. Fire Pokemon obviously have the ability to use Sunny Day. Now, I know you're thinking, the Lions are used to Sunny Days and all that, but not to the same extent that the move Sunny Day goes. To the point where it drastically weakens water type abilities to the point of almost by evaporating them a lot more. At least that's what I can tell. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments below, but that's what I got from it. Now, the desert is hot, don't get me wrong, but it's not so hot that if you were to shoot a water gun, the pressure itself would be lessened. Lions themselves are not adapt to that level of heat. Therefore, that alone would be a huge hindrance to a billion lions. We also have flying type moves. Our Hurricane is one that comes to mind when it comes to such an idea. Now, again, Lions are tough, but they're not exactly dealing with a Hurricane with ease. Even if we were to go with PP, which, again, I find stupid, but if we were to go with the PowerPoint idea, they can use Hurricane at least 10 times, if I'm correct. If a country were to get hit with a Hurricane twice, it'd be devastated, let alone the 10 times that a Pokemon would be able to use it. So, already that's going to decimate any lion. Lions are tough, but they're not continent-level beings. Again, you'll see what I mean later when I talk about a little bit more what Fudge has to say on this. Heck, even grass and electric Pokemon have somewhat of an advantage here. grass Pokemon with their ability to create I was going to say forest, but I'm thinking of Hashirama. Yeah, way to confuse Pokemon and Naruto, but they definitely have their poisons and all that, which is something lions will have to be careful about. The ability to paralyze, poison, and force you to sleep. Again, in a realistic setting, you are not limited to only one of these status conditions. You can't have all of them at the same time. You could be poisoned and asleep. You can be poisoned and paralyzed. So you got to be careful there, especially with lions. Again, this is a spore thing, so it's not exactly limited to one at a time. And electric, there's an ability that electric Pokemon can do where they can force an electrical terrain. The electricity itself is so great that it goes flying off the battlefield, and you can see sparks connected from the ground to the ground. Now, in order to do such a thing, we'll have an incredible electric field around it. I'm not good with numbers, and I'm not exactly the best when it comes to this sort of stuff, but even I can recognize that that'd be a lot of electricity. Any lion caught in that zone, it's going to be almost instantly zapped to death. And that's not even counting, again, mega evolutions, like I stated earlier with Mega Blastoise, or even, God forbid, Gigantamax. You throw in Gigantamax, it's game over regardless. Have you seen what Gigantamax Blastoise has on it? That's an entire moving fortress. If one Hydro Pump could take out a line of lions, then you gotta imagine that that thing's just built to destroy. Not to mention that would make all their attacks even bigger. Can you imagine a gigantic tsunami? That itself might even be itself continent level as it is. Now, just, for the sake of it, I'll say that the Billion Lions were able to get through all of that and get to the legendary Pokemon. And that's, again, not me taking into account Metagross and all that, saying that they can get past the pseudo-legendaries like Metagross that has skin made of literal metal, and beings like Garchomp that are known to be the land sharks. Again, if you want to see what I mean, watch a shark fight an actual lion, and it's not going to go well for the lion. Granted, that's because the lion would be in the shark's element, but again, this is a land shark. But I'm getting off point. The legendaries. Well, Groudon is about 12 feet tall. Yeah, that's in his normal form and without his primal evolution. He's so powerful that he can create earthquakes and form mountains and all that. Yeah, say what you want about the lions, but they're only going to have a finite amount of ability to attack this thing, and they're only going to be able to attack his feet. This thing could quite literally walk and crush any lion that gets near him. What about Kyogre? Kyogre literally creates the sea. If Kyogre were to try and fight a billion lions, his awakening itself would create a flood that would destroy almost all land. Yes, lions can swim, but again, I'll bring you back to the whole shark versus lion thing. Lions can't exactly fight well in the water. That's actually a point he brings up in the video, but I find it ridiculous for that reason. He also says that we can't trust the Pokedex, but in the game, we literally see Kyogre flood all of that region. So even if you want to say that he couldn't flood the entire Earth, he's at least flooding an entire country, which, again, a billion lions might fit on, but even if he doesn't, he definitely brings that level of destruction with him. So, no, the lions couldn't fight Kyogre, and that's normal Kyogre. Again, we're not getting into Primal right there. If we go Primal, their attack potency should go up at least 10 times to what it is. Mega Rayquaza has the same thing, but only he is a space being who can drop meteors. So, again, Rayquaza versus a billion lions going to Rayquaza by himself. And that's, again, not taking his Mega into account. Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina, again, same thing with Rayquaza. Not only can they also learn the move Dragon Ascent and drop the meteors, but they can also use Draco Meteor, which is another meteor dropping move, Roar Time, Aura Sphere, Shadow Force. They're all very deadly. Not to mention that even if we were to sit there and say that the Lions could take all these Pokemon, Ghost Pokemon themselves are already dead. So you can't really kill something that's dead. So already that's a losing fight for the Lions as it is. Now, I'm going to get into what you have to say here. I know you're not going to respond. You already said in your comment section that you don't care to. But for the sake of dealing with the arguments, I will do that. So here.
Yveltal, as stated, causes a tie when he gets taken down, which he will, because it's a billion lions.
Not necessarily. He doesn't exactly die when this happens. He just kind of goes into a hibernation. Just everything else kind of dies, so...
Rayquaza never needs to land. Okay, lion ladders. Lions on mountains. He's definitely going to crash into something at some point.
That's where our beautiful moves such as Draco Meteor and Hurricane come into play. Yes, Rayquaza can use both of these things, and both are devastating. Try hitting something with 5 Hurricanes and then dropping 10 Meteors on it, and you tell me how well that goes for it.
Kyogre being twice as hot as the sun is funny, because another hotly contested internet debate is one based around whether or not a billion lions could take out the sun. Most people say that the lions wouldn't stand a chance, to which much smarter and more attractive people often reply that they could just chase it at night. Look, if you combine the total cumulative body heat of a billion lions into one energy source, you would create something hotter than the sun. It's a billion lions. A billion lions could kill God. Furthermore, if Magcargo is twice as hot as the sun and he's present at the battle, then he wipes out all of the Pokemon and the entire world just as fast as he wipes out the lions before eventually supernovaing and losing sentience. So again, it becomes a draw at worst.
It's this part right here where I can't figure out if I need to take you serious or not. It's ridiculous to say a billion lions could take out the sun. I don't care how many there are. I don't even care if the body fact itself is true. They have to get into space somehow and go at the sun. And the sun would instantly evaporate all of them before they could get to them. And even if they do manage to do great damage to the sun, all that's going to do is mess with it, make it bigger, and maybe make it show up solar flares, which would definitely kill them all.
But coming back into the real world, where a billion lions are fighting one of every Pokemon and the Pokedex and anime can't be trusted based on their own inconsistencies, this isn't to say that the Pokemon don't still have quite a lot going for them. Let's take a look at what we do know. Basing this debate off the main series games and their mechanics, which are the most consistently provable metrics, there are still a lot of hurdles the Lions have to overcome to be able to win. Ghost Pokemon, for example, are a huge potential problem. Being immune to normal type attacks, I see no way that Lions could possibly even hit the...
I had something else to say here, but I just realized Victini's a thing. Victini's a Pokemon, so it'll be on Team Pokemon. Victini's whole lore is whichever team he happens to be on is guaranteed to win, so game, match, and point.
Oh. Alright, well, there's still proven powerhouses like, say, Dialga, for example. It can use Roar of Time, which has an absolutely monstrous 150 base power, and before anyone says it, no, going back in time is not winning the fight. So is there any way of quantifying how much damage Roar of Time would do in a real life fight like this? Kinda. We have to take a move that's applicable in the real world, like Earthquake. Earthquake has a base power of 100, which means Roar of Time is 1.5 times more powerful than it. According to my rather gruesome calculations, the average deaths caused by major earthquakes in the past 5 years is 443.
Did you make sure to take into account modern technology, safety precautions, and all that in order to make sure as many people survive? Because if not, that's a very inaccurate way to... That's an inaccurate number on how many lions should survive, considering that they have nowhere near the same safety precautions as us humans and or the technology in place to keep themselves safe. I do hope that was put into your number there, but I very much doubt it.
For Dialga's Roar of Time, we then need to jack that figure up by 1.5 to make it 664. We also need to factor in Dialga's Titanic base 150 special attack, and even ignoring EVs or IVs, this is very hard to quantify, but it's so much higher than the average Pokemon, so I'm just going to bolster the number by another 100. However, lions are somewhat more physically durable than the average human, so I think it's reasonable to ascertain that for every 2 humans Dialga could kill with a Roar of Time, he could kill 1 lion. So we need to slash that number in half. And so I think we can fairly estimate that Dialga alone could kill about 382 lions with a single Roar of Time.
I mean, yes, lions are more durable than humans, but they're not exactly 2 times more durable.
My god. And now before you lies the other major issue the Pokemon face. Power Points, or PP. Every Pokemon can only use their moves a limited amount of times before they run out of usage.
Again, that's for game balancing purposes only and nothing else.
Rayquaza, in the fantasy world in which what the Pokedex tells us is true, can fly around all he wants. Eventually, he'll have to use Struggle, which does damage to himself, and he ain't taken out his fair share of lions before he has to start struggling. With fully maxed out PP, Dialga can still only use Roar of Time 7 times, so via our math earlier, he can take out 2,709 lions using his strongest move, one of the only 4 moves he'll be able to use, by the way. I don't need to do many calculations to tell you that 2,709 is not equivalent to this, nor is it particularly close. He also has to recharge for a turn every time he uses it, which is a hell of an opening for the lions who, last time I checked, don't have to take turns.
Well, as I pointed out earlier, your math was wrong. Lions are not twice as durable as humans, even if they are more durable. So that definitely should take into account. Again, this also assumes the power points are something that would be limited by the amount of abilities. Basically, you're saying power points are definitely a factor here, but we know in a realistic fight they definitely aren't. And this leads into the next problem, which are you're giving Pokemon their rules without giving lions the Pokemon's rules, letting them keep by their rules, but at the same time giving their bite the dark attribute so they can fight the ghost. This is called cherry picking. You can't have it both ways. If you're giving power points, then and Bite's allowed to be a dark type, that would mean the lions themselves would be hit with the limit of having so many moves. Also, weaknesses, super effectiveness, and all that, meaning the lions aren't going to be able to take out all Pokemon if all they have is normal and dark type moves. Or you can say the Pokemon don't have turns and don't have power points, in which case Roar of Time is just going to wreck a billion lions. Now, as you can see by that alone, this man's logic is very flawed. I'd go through the whole video, but I'm not going to go through a video in which somebody has openly admitted that they don't care for differences of opinion and don't care to respond. It's a waste of my time, and it's a waste of your time, and I'm not insulting you or me, so yeah, that's about it. And I have other videos, and sorry this is a weird one. I just wanted to do something different than Dragon Ball. I allowed it to dominate my channel, even though I really didn't want it to. I'm probably going to take a step back. I have one more Dragon Ball video that's coming out on Omar. I'll probably go more into some more of the evolution and all that, just because it's fun. I have some Siren stuff set up and some other videos planning on how to do Yu-Gi-Oh! Slightly better, so that should be fun. Well, this will be it for this video. This is Ken Rock out. You all stay solid. Goodbye.